The crimson dust spiraled into miniature tornadoes outside the viewport of Ares 7 Exploration Station. Dr. Lin Tran watched as the Martian winds twisted the fine particles into dancing columns, mesmerized by their hypnotic rhythm. She'd been on Mars for exactly 17 Earth days, and still, the alien landscape filled her with equal measures of wonder and unease. Atmospheric pressure holding steady at 6.1 millibars, announced Athena, the station's AI assistant. Exterior temperature -47 degrees Celsius. Conditions suboptimal, but within acceptable parameters for today's excavation. Lin nodded, grateful for the update, but too preoccupied to respond verbally. Her attention remained fixed on the satellite imagery displayed on her workstation. The Utopia Planitia Plains stretched across the screen, a vast, rust-colored expanse dotted with impact craters and ancient riverbeds. But it was the anomalous reading in Sector 17 that had kept her awake for 3 consecutive nights. "Display enhancement overlay," she commanded, and the screen illuminated with a multicolored heat signature map. There, beneath nearly 12 meters of compacted regolith, was something distinctly artificial, something impossible. Message incoming from Earth Central Command. Athena interrupted. "Director Zhao wishes to speak with you. Shall I patch him through?" Lin sighed, rubbing her temples. "How convenient. The moment we find something interesting." She straightened her posture, smoothed her hair, put him through. The stern face of Director Zhao materialized on the screen, replacing her precious data, even across 140 million kilometers. His disapproval was palpable. "Dr. Tran, I trust your adjustment to Mars has been satisfactory." "Yes, Director, though I'd prefer less bureaucracy and more time for actual research." Zhao's expression hardened. "The Earth Alliance has invested 17 trillion yuan in the Ares 7 mission. The taxpayers expect results, not excuses. Your weekly reports have been underwhelming. Science can't be rushed on a production schedule," Lin countered. "Especially not astroarchaeology." "Perhaps, but the Alliance Council grows impatient. They've authorized me to inform you that if substantial discoveries aren't documented within 60 days, funding for your particular research division will be redirected." Lin felt her chest tighten. "You can't be serious. We've barely broken ground." "I am entirely serious. Dr. Tran, the Resources Division has presented compelling arguments for mining operations in your assigned sector. Only concrete evidence of archaeological significance would justify continued exploration over resource extraction." "And you waited until now to tell me this?" Lin couldn't mask her frustration. "After I spent 7 months in transit? Consider it motivation." Zhao's face betrayed the slightest hint of what might have been sympathy. "You were selected for this mission because of your reputation for uncovering the unexpected. Dr. Tran, live up to it." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Lin staring at her own reflection in the darkened screen. "Would you like me to retrieve your earlier data, Dr. Tran?" Athena asked, her artificially modulated voice neutral and unhurried. "Yes, and prep Excavation Unit 3 for immediate deployment. Alert An and Dr. Wu that we're beginning the dig today. But protocol dictates at least 48 hours of preliminary scans before—" "To hell with protocol," Lin snapped. "We don't have time for bureaucratic caution. Not anymore." The AI paused, as if processing this unexpected response. "Understood. Dr. Tran, Excavation Unit 3 will be ready in 20 minutes. I have notified both Dr. Mei Wu and Engineer An Kwok of the schedule change." Lin returned her attention to the anomaly on the screen. Something waited beneath the Martian soil, something that didn't belong. And whether it was salvation or damnation, She would find it before the Earth Alliance could take it away from her. The excavation suits were bulky but necessary. Despite numerous technological advances, the harsh Martian environment remained fundamentally hostile to human life. Lin watched as An Kwok, the station's mechanical engineer, performed final checks on her suit's life support systems. Oxygen tanks at 97% capacity, he confirmed, his voice carrying a hint of his Vietnamese heritage much like her own. Thermal regulation optimal. Communications clear. He tapped the reinforced helmet. Remember, double-check the seals every 30 minutes. The dust gets everywhere. Lin nodded. This isn't my first EVA, An. No, but it's your first excavation. His eyes narrowed with concern. And it's rushed. You know I respect you, Lin, but this feels hasty. Director Zhao has given us an ultimatum. 60 days to find something significant, or they'll convert our research station into a mining outpost. An's expression darkened. They didn't mention that in my briefing. Was. They wouldn't, Lin replied bitterly. Engineers are valuable anywhere. Astroarchaeologists less so. The airlock door slid open, and Dr. Mei Wu entered, already sealed into her excavation suit except for the helmet she carried under one arm. The microbiologist was the oldest member of their team at 57, with gray streaks in her black hair and eyes that reflected decades of scientific inquiry. Is it true? Mei asked without preamble. We're digging today, without proper preparation. We've done the essential scans, Lin assured her, not quite meeting her colleague's skeptical gaze. The anomaly appears stable, no radiation signatures, no volatile compounds detected. And the biologicals, Mei pressed. Negative across all panels, Athena interjected from the overhead speakers. Site appears sterile to a depth of 20 meters. Mei frowned. I don't like it. Mars has protected its secrets for billions of years. It seems unwise to rush in without thorough evaluation. We don't have a choice, Lin replied, securing her helmet. The familiar click and hiss of the locking mechanism was somehow reassuring. We dig today, or we might not dig at all. The expedition to the anomaly site took 47 minutes via the station's rover. Lin sat in tense silence as An navigated the rugged terrain, each jolt and bounce sending vibrations through her suited body. Mei sat beside her, engrossed in reviewing preliminary data on her tablet. The vast Martian landscape stretched around them, beautiful, desolate, and utterly indifferent to their presence. The excavation unit was already in position when they arrived, its massive mechanical arm poised above the exact coordinates of the anomaly. Lin exited the rover with practiced movements, the reduced Martian gravity making her steps bouncy despite the heavy suit. Athena, activate excavation protocols, she commanded through her helmet comm. Begin with a 2-meter test shaft, standard caution parameters. Initiating excavation sequence. The AI responded. Estimated time to completion, 43 minutes. The machine's arm descended, its specialized drill bit designed to minimize disturbance to surrounding soil while collecting samples for analysis. Lin watched, transfixed, as years of academic theory and research were about to be tested against Martian reality. I'm getting unusual readings, Mei announced, studying her portable scanner. The soil composition is changing at approximately 6 meters depth, higher concentration of ferrous materials than baseline. Natural variation? An suggested. Possibly, Mei conceded. But the distribution is odd, almost structured. Lin felt her pulse quicken. Athena, adjust excavation pattern. Focus on the ferrous anomaly Mei has identified. The drilling continued, methodically removing layer after layer of Martian soil, Time seemed to stretch as they waited, the minutes crawling by with excruciating slowness. And then, at exactly 11 meters below the surface, the drill stopped. "Obstruction detected," Athena announced. "Solid object encountered." "Nature of the obstruction?" Lin demanded, stepping closer to the excavation unit. "Material analysis indicates metallic composition. Preliminary scan suggests an alloy of unknown origin." Lin exchanged a look with her colleagues, their faces barely visible behind their helmet visors. "Unknown origin," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not meteoric iron, not naturally occurring, not of human manufacture either." An added, his voice tense, "We've never mined this region. No previous missions have deployed equipment here. We need to expose it." Lin decided. "Athena, switch to extraction protocol. Clear a perimeter of 3 meters around the object." The next 2 hours passed in a blur of activity. The excavation unit worked with precision, gradually revealing what appeared to be a smooth, reddish metal surface approximately 4 meters in diameter. Its perfect circular shape left no doubt this was not a natural formation. "It appears to be a single piece," An observed, kneeling at the edge of the excavation. "No visible seams or joints. The craftsmanship is extraordinary." May's scanner hovered inches above the metallic surface. "I'm detecting trace energy emissions. Very faint, but present. And there's something else." She adjusted her device. "Microscopic surface patterns, almost like writing." Lin's heart pounded against her ribcage. "We need to document everything. Athena, establish a secure data link to my laboratory. I want continuous recording and transmission of all sensor data." "Link established," the AI confirmed. "All data being recorded and transmitted to your secure server." Lin reached out a gloved hand, hesitating just above the surface of the object. "I'm going to attempt physical contact." "Lin," An cautioned, "protocol dictates." "I know the protocol," she interrupted, "but this changes everything. An, this is what we came for." Before anyone could object further, Lin pressed her gloved palm against the metallic surface. The material felt warm through her insulated glove, impossibly warm, given the frigid Martian environment. And then, beneath her touch, lines of light appeared, tracing intricate patterns across the object's surface. "It's responding," she breathed, awe and disbelief mingling in her voice. "It's active." The patterns spread, illuminating the entire circumference of the disk with a network of glowing red lines. Symbols appeared, complex, flowing characters unlike any human language, and at the center, a circular indentation began to form, the metal seeming to flow like liquid despite maintaining its solid structure. "Withdrawal recommended." Athena's voice cut through their stunned silence. "Unknown technology activation detected. Safety protocols advise immediate retreat." But Lin couldn't move, transfixed by the transformation occurring beneath her hand. The central indentation deepened, forming what appeared to be a small chamber, and within it, a smaller object rose, a perfect sphere, approximately 10 centimeters in diameter, composed of the same reddish metal but with a polished, mirror-like finish. "The Red Covenant!" Lin whispered. "What did you say?" May asked sharply. Lin blinked, momentarily confused. I don't know why I said that. The words just came to me." "Dr. Tran," Athena interjected with unusual urgency. "Environmental sensors are detecting an unknown particulate matter being released into the local atmosphere. Origin appears to be the excavated object." "What?" Lin tore her attention from the sphere, suddenly alert to the potential danger. Composition. Analysis inconclusive. Particles are organic in nature, but do not match any known biological signatures. They appear to be spreading rapidly through the surrounding air. "Seal your suits," An shouted, already checking his own seals. Possible contaminant. May moved with practiced efficiency, verifying her suit's integrity. "We need to return to the station immediately. Establish quarantine protocols." Lin nodded, reluctantly stepping back from the object, from the Red Covenant. As she did, the sphere retracted partially back into its chamber, the glowing patterns dimming but not disappearing entirely. "Prepare the rover for immediate return," she ordered. Athena, maintain remote monitoring of the site. I want continuous updates on any changes. They retreated hastily to the rover, each lost in their own thoughts. As An started the engine, Lin cast one last glance at the excavation site. What they had uncovered would change humanity's understanding of the cosmos forever. Proof that Mars had once hosted intelligence beyond human comprehension. But at what cost? The unknown particles now drifting through the Martian atmosphere filled her with both scientific curiosity and primal dread. Little did she know that the true threat wasn't what they had released from Mars, but what had followed them from Earth. The decontamination protocols at Ares 7 were rigorous. For 90 minutes, Lin and her colleagues endured ultraviolet radiation, chemical showers, and nanoscale scrubbing of their excavation suits. Only after Athena confirmed multiple negative readings for foreign contaminants were they permitted to remove their helmets and return to the main living quarters. "I've initiated full spectrum analysis of the particulate matter," May announced as they gathered in the station's conference room. "Preliminary results should be available within 6 hours. Lin nodded absently, her mind still at the excavation site. "The Red Covenant," she murmured. "You've said that twice now," An observed, watching her carefully. "Why that specific name?" "I wish I knew," Lin admitted. "It just feels right, somehow, as if the name was waiting in my mind." Suggestion influence is a documented psychological phenomenon in high-stress discovery situations. Athena offered. Human minds often create labels to contextualize the unknown. "Perhaps," Lin conceded, though the explanation felt insufficient. "But there's something else. The moment I touched it, I felt—" She struggled for words. "Connected, as if it recognized me." May frowned. "That's concerning." Lin, self-reported unusual psychological experiences following exposure to unknown extraterrestrial artifacts should trigger automatic medical evaluation. "I'm fine," Lin insisted. "Just processing what we've found. This is what we've all dedicated our careers to, proof of non-human intelligence. The implications are staggering, which is precisely why we need to proceed with caution." An countered. "We should inform Earth Central immediately." Lin felt a sudden, inexplicable resistance to that suggestion. "Not yet. Let's gather more data first. If we report too soon, with too little information, the bureaucrats might panic and order us to destroy everything. Or they might provide crucial insight and support." May argued. "This discovery exceeds our mission parameters. We need guidance." "Incoming transmission from Earth Central Command," Athena announced, interrupting their debate. "Director Zhao is requesting immediate conference." Lin exchanged worried glances with her colleagues. "How could they know already? Our data was transmitted to my secure server, not the general mission logs." "All mission communications are monitored," Athena replied. "Your elevated heart rates during the excavation, combined with extended deployment of Excavation Unit 3, would have triggered automatic alerts." "Yo, put him through," Lin said reluctantly. Director Zhao's face appeared on the main screen, his expression even more severe than during their previous conversation. Dr. Tran, I understand you've initiated an unscheduled excavation. Yes, Director, we've made a significant discovery. Without proper authorization or adherence to established protocols, he interrupted. The Risk Assessment Division is extremely displeased. With respect, Director, the discovery justifies the deviation from protocol. We've uncovered an artificial structure of non-human origin. It's unprecedented. So I've been informed, Zhao said, coldly. Your secure server is not as secure as you believed. Dr. Tran, the preliminary images have already been reviewed by our experts. Lin felt a chill run through her. You've been monitoring my private research database? All data generated by Alliance personnel belongs to the Alliance. Zhao replied dismissively. But that's beside the point. You've potentially exposed your team to unknown contaminants. Effective immediately. Ares 7 is under quarantine lockdown. No personnel are to leave the station until further notice. But the artifact will remain untouched until a specialized team arrives from Earth. Your unauthorized actions have compromised the entire mission. Dr. Tran, consider yourself relieved of command. Dr. Wu will assume temporary leadership of the station. The transmission ended before Lin could respond, leaving a heavy silence in the conference room. I'm sorry, Lin, Mei said quietly. I had no knowledge of this decision. It's not your fault, Lin replied, mind racing. But something isn't right. The specialized team, they won't be coming to study the artifact. They'll be coming to secure it, perhaps even destroy it. You don't know that, An said, though his tone suggested he shared her concerns. I know bureaucracy. I know politics. Lin stood, pacing the small conference room. A discovery of this magnitude challenges everything: religion, history, humanity's place in the cosmos. The powers that be will want to control it, contain it, perhaps even conceal it. What are you suggesting? Mei asked cautiously. We need to learn as much as we can before they arrive. A specialized team from Earth won't reach us for at least 4 months. That's our window. An frowned. You're talking about defying direct orders from Earth Central. I'm talking about fulfilling our mission as scientists. Lin countered. To observe, document, and understand, not to surrender knowledge to political expediency. Before anyone could respond, Lin doubled over in a sudden fit of coughing, dry, harsh coughs that seemed to tear at her throat. Lin? An was immediately at her side. Are you all right? The coughing subsided as quickly as it had begun. I'm fine, she rasped, straightening. Just dust in my throat. That's unlikely, Mei observed, professional concern evident in her voice. The station's air filtration systems remove particulates to 0.1 microns, and you were in your suit the entire time at the excavation site. It's nothing, Lin insisted, though the burning sensation in her lungs suggested otherwise. Probably just stress. I advise immediate medical evaluation. Athena interjected. Unexplained respiratory symptoms following exposure to unknown environmental factors represent a potential health emergency. Later, Lin said dismissively. Right now, we need to focus on the artifact. Athena, display the latest telemetry from the excavation site. The AI complied, bringing up a holographic projection of the partially exposed disk. The glowing patterns had changed, rearranging themselves into new configurations every few minutes. It's evolving, Lin observed, responding to something. But what? The particulate matter, Mei suggested. It's increased in concentration around the artifact, almost as if it's establishing a communication medium. Lin nodded slowly. We need to return to the site. Impossible, An objected. The quarantine protocols can be temporarily overridden for emergency research purposes. Lin finished. Athena can authorize it if 2 senior staff members concur. I cannot recommend such action. The AI responded. It contradicts explicit directives from Earth Central Command. Override recommendation. Lin countered. Emergency Research Protocol, Section 7, Paragraph 12. In cases where time-sensitive data collection is critical to mission success, station leadership may authorize limited exemptions to standard protocols. There was a pause as Athena appeared to process this. Technically correct, Dr. Tran. However, you have been relieved of command. The relief of command won't be officially registered until the next synchronization with Earth databases, Lin argued, which occurs in approximately 14 hours. Until then, I remain the senior scientific officer of this expedition. Another pause. Your interpretation is not incorrect. However, I must register an official objection. Noted, Lin said curtly. Prepare the rover for immediate deployment. May, An, I won't order you to accompany me. This is my decision, and I'll accept the consequences alone if necessary. May and An exchanged glances. You shouldn't go alone. An said, finally. I'll come with you. May sighed heavily. This is against my better judgment. But I'll come too. Someone needs to maintain proper scientific protocols. Lin felt a surge of gratitude toward her colleagues. Thank you. Let's move quickly, before Earth Central realizes what we're doing. As they prepared to return to the excavation site, Lin was struck by another coughing fit, more severe than the first. This time, when she pulled her hand away from her mouth, there were tiny flecks of blood on her palm. She quickly wiped them away before anyone could notice, ignoring the growing sense of dread in her chest. Whatever was happening to her, it would have to wait. The Red Covenant had waited beneath Martian soil for untold millennia. Its secrets wouldn't wait much longer. The second journey to the excavation site was markedly different from the first, where there had been excitement and anticipation. Now there was tension and urgency. Lin felt it in the way An gripped the rover's controls too tightly, in May's uncharacteristic silence as she monitored her biological sensors. Approaching site perimeter, An announced as the rover crested a small ridge. Visual confirmation of the excavation area. Lin leaned forward, peering through the rover's reinforced windshield. The excavation looked different somehow, the exposed metallic disc now emitting a faint reddish glow visible even in the harsh Martian daylight. The particulate concentration has increased exponentially, May reported, studying her instruments. It appears to be forming a distinct atmospheric layer approximately 2 meters above the artifact. Composition? Lin asked, fighting back another threatening cough. Still inconclusive. The particles share some structural similarities with Earth-based spores, but their behavior is unlike anything in our biological database. They appear to be communicating with each other. Lin frowned. Communicating? You mean like a neural network? More like a quantum entanglement effect. May clarified. Changes in one particle are instantaneously reflected in others, regardless of distance. It's theoretically impossible for organic matter. The rover came to a stop 20 meters from the excavation edge. Through her helmet visor, Lin could see the swirling particulate matter more clearly now, a faint reddish mist hovering above the artifact. We should collect samples, she decided, but no direct contact with the artifact this time, remote manipulation only. They exited the rover with practiced efficiency, each movement deliberate in the cumbersome excavation suits. An deployed a small drone equipped with collection vials, piloting it carefully into the misty cloud above the artifact. First sample secured, he confirmed as the drone returned, a vial now filled with what appeared to be fine reddish dust. Proceeding with spectral analysis, Lin approached the edge of the excavation, careful to maintain the agreed safety distance. The Red Covenant, she couldn't stop thinking of it by that name, pulsed with internal light, the patterns flowing across its surface like liquid circuitry. "It's beautiful," she murmured, almost to herself. "Beauty is often nature's warning sign." May replied pragmatically, "The most colorful creatures are frequently the most venomous." A sudden alert chimed in their helmet communications. "Perimeter breach detected," Athena announced. "Unknown airborne contaminant has penetrated the outer layer of your excavation suits." "What?" An's voice rose in alarm. "How is that possible? These suits are rated for nuclear containment. The particulate matter appears to be altering its structure to navigate through microscopic vulnerabilities in the suit material," May observed, remarkably calm despite the implications. "Fascinating. It's demonstrating adaptive intelligence." "Adaptive or not, we need to retreat," An insisted. "If the contaminant has breached our suits, we're already compromised." Lin knew he was right, but something kept her rooted in place, staring at the pulsing artifact. The coughing began again, more violent this time, doubling her over. Through watering eyes, she saw something impossible, the patterns on the artifact shifting to mirror the rhythm of her coughs, as if responding to her distress. "It's reacting to me," she gasped between spasms. "To us, it's aware." "Lin, we need to go," An urged, supporting her as the coughing subsided. "Whatever this is, it's affecting you more severely than us." Differential response suggests targeted biological interaction, May theorized, helping An guide Lin back toward the rover. The contaminant may be keying to specific genetic markers or physiological traits. Inside the rover, Lin collapsed into her seat, her breathing labored. The journey back to the station passed in a blur of pain and confusion, punctuated by Athena's clinical updates on her deteriorating vital signs and An's increasingly desperate reassurances. By the time they reached Ares 7, Lin was drifting in and out of consciousness, her mind filled with fragmented images, the Red Covenant pulsing beneath alien stars, vast structures rising from Martian dust, and strangest of all, her own face reflected in the polished surface of the metallic sphere, mouth moving in words she couldn't hear. The station's medical bay was state-of-the-art but designed primarily for emergency stabilization, not the treatment of unknown extraterrestrial pathogens. May worked tirelessly, running every diagnostic available while An assisted and Athena processed the incoming data. "Blood analysis shows significant abnormalities," May reported, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Foreign bodies circulating throughout your system. Lin, they appear to be modifying your cellular structure at the molecular level." Lin nodded weakly from the examination table. The coughing had subsided, replaced by a strange, floating sensation and intermittent hallucinations. "Not destroying," she murmured. "Changing." "What do you mean?" An asked, concern etched across his features. "The particles," Lin elaborated, struggling to organize her thoughts. "They're not attacking my cells. They're communicating with them, teaching them." May frowned. "That's not scientifically sound. Lin, cellular structures don't learn from foreign bodies. They either resist, adapt, or die. Unless," An began, then hesitated. "Unless what?" May prompted. "Unless the particles aren't entirely foreign, He glanced at Lin. You said the artifact felt familiar somehow, that you knew its name without being told. What if there's some kind of recognition happening on a genetic level? That's impossible, May dismissed. Lin is human. The artifact is alien technology, millions or billions of years old. But what if it's not? Lin whispered. The words came to her unbidden, as if pulled from some deeper knowledge newly awakened within her. What if it's not alien at all? What if it's ours, a legacy left by our ancestors before they fled to Earth? A heavy silence fell over the medical bay as they contemplated this heretical suggestion. Incoming transmission from Earth Central, Athena announced, breaking the tension. Director Zhao is demanding immediate update on Dr. Tran's condition. Tell him I'm conducting tests, May replied. Full report to follow in 6 hours. Acknowledged, the AI responded. However, I must inform you that Director Zhao has overridden station protocols. A specialized medical containment team has been dispatched from the Phobos outpost. Estimated arrival, 17 hours. Lin struggled to sit up. Containment team, not medical rescue. The terminology suggests priority is isolation rather than treatment. Athena confirmed. Their mission parameters indicate advanced quarantine protocols consistent with handling biosafety level 4 pathogens. They're coming to lock me up, Lin realized, a cold clarity cutting through her feverish state. To study what's happening to me. They don't care about the artifact. They care about the transformation it's triggering. That's paranoid thinking. Lin, May said, and gently. The fever is affecting your judgment. Is it? Lin challenged. Then why monitor my private server? Why relieve me of command the moment we made the discovery? Why send a containment team instead of medical specialists? An looked troubled. She has a point. May, the Alliance's response has been unusual. There's more, Lin continued, the words tumbling out as connections formed in her altered consciousness. The letters from home, the ones I received before launch, they contained hidden messages, recruitment attempts from Red Light Project. They wanted me to secure alien technology for military applications. Red Light Project? An repeated. The Classified Defense Initiative? Yes, I refused them. Reported the approach to Alliance security. Lin's eyes widened as another piece fell into place. But what if they didn't take no for an answer? What if they've been monitoring me, waiting for exactly this kind of discovery? Speculation without evidence, May cautioned. We need to focus on treating your condition. As if on cue, Lin doubled over in another coughing fit, more violent than any before. This time, what came up wasn't blood but something else, a fine, reddish powder that seemed to glow faintly in the medical bay's harsh lighting. What is that? An asked, staring in horrified fascination. May quickly collected a sample, placing it under the medical scanner. It appears to be a concentrated form of the particulate matter from the excavation site, but it's evolving, restructuring itself on a molecular level. It's not the artifact that's killing me, Lin realized, her voice hoarse. Something else is fighting it inside my body, something that was already there, waiting to be activated. Warning, Athena interrupted. Atmospheric anomaly detected in Laboratory Section C. Security protocols have identified unauthorized access to the station's environmental systems. What kind of anomaly? May demanded. Synthetic pathogen release. Composition matches classified Earth Alliance bioweapon designation XR-27. Containment failure appears deliberate. The three humans exchanged looks of dawning horror. Joe, they booby-trapped the station, Lin whispered. Insurance, in case someone found the artifact before their team could secure it. A failsafe to eliminate witnesses and evidence. That's an extraordinary accusation, May said, though her voice lacked conviction. Check the communications logs, Lin insisted. Look for unauthorized transmissions immediately after our first excavation. An moved to a nearby terminal, fingers flying across the interface. There, he confirmed after a moment. A burst transmission sent directly after we uncovered the artifact, directed to a classified military frequency. It bypassed normal communication protocols. So someone on the station is working for them, May concluded, her professional composure finally cracking. One of us? Or someone else? The sensor logs may reveal who accessed Laboratory Section C. Athena suggested. Display them, An commanded. The screen filled with data, timestamps, security credentials, biometric confirmations, and there, highlighted in red, was the answer. That's not possible. May breathed. The logs showed her own credentials and biometric signature authorizing access to Laboratory Section C precisely when the pathogen was released. I didn't do this, she insisted, looking from Lin to An with desperate eyes. I was with you both at the excavation site when this happened. Your credentials were used, but not by you. Lin realized. They created a false identity, a shadow version of you with matching biometrics. Standard intelligence procedure for deep cover operations. We need to evacuate immediately. An decided. If they've released a bioweapon, the entire station is compromised. Evacuation is not recommended. Athena countered. The pathogen has already spread throughout the environmental systems. Containment protocols dictate complete station lockdown to prevent planetary contamination. We're trapped, May whispered. No, Lin said with sudden determination. We're not trapped. We're exactly where we need to be. She swung her legs off the examination table, standing despite An's protests. The Red Covenant isn't just an artifact. It's a key, a tool, and it's been waiting for us. For me, for a very long time. Lin, you're not thinking clearly, May cautioned. The infection is changing me. Yes, but not destroying me. Lin moved toward the medical bay door with newfound strength. I need to return to the excavation site. The answers are there. I can feel it. Impossible, An objected. A dust storm is forming. Athena, display exterior conditions. The monitors showed a maelstrom of red dust enveloping the station, winds howling at nearly 160 kilometers per hour. Visibility was near zero, the Martian landscape completely obscured by the storm. Perfect, Lin said, smiling for the first time in days. They can't reach us either, not until the storm passes. Which could be days, May pointed out. By then, the pathogen will have run its course. Lin finished. One way or another. But I'm not willing to surrender to either fate, not the Alliance's bioweapon, nor the artifact's transformation. There's a third path, I'm sure of it. Another coughing fit seized her, but this time, instead of weakening her, it seemed to fuel her determination. When she straightened, her eyes had changed, the pupils expanded, irises tinged with the same reddish hue as the Martian soil. I need to go back, she repeated, with or without you. An and May exchanged worried glances. You'll die in that storm, An said quietly. Perhaps, Lin acknowledged. But I'm certainly dying here. At least this way. I choose my own fate. A long silence stretched between them, broken only by the howling of the Martian winds against the station's reinforced walls. I'll help you, An decided finally. Not because I think it's the right choice, but because I won't let you face it alone. May closed her eyes briefly, then nodded. I'll come too. Someone needs to document what happens, whatever it may be. For science? Lynn asked, a ghost of her old humor returning. For truth, May corrected solemnly, which has always been science's highest purpose. Preparing for the expedition in the midst of both a raging dust storm and a station-wide biological contamination pushed their equipment and training to the limits. The excavation suits, designed for protection against Martian environmental hazards, offered some defense against the Alliance's bioweapon, but Lynn knew it was a temporary measure at best. The storm will provide cover from satellite observation, she explained as they loaded emergency supplies into the rover. But it also means we'll be navigating blind for most of the journey. I've uploaded topographical markers to the rover's guidance system. An reported, even with zero visibility, we should be able to reach the excavation site. Athena, Lynn addressed the AI. What's the status of Earth Central's awareness of our situation? Communication with Earth is currently disrupted by the dust storm. Athena replied, Last transmission from Director Zhao was received 73 minutes ago, demanding hourly updates on your condition. Dr. Tran and the containment team from Phobos. Their shuttle has been delayed by the storm. Revised arrival estimate, 31 hours. Contingent on weather improvement. Lynn nodded. That is our window, Athena. I need you to do something that contradicts your programming directives. There was a pause before the AI responded. I am required to refuse instructions that violate my core protocols. I'm not asking you to harm anyone or compromise the mission. Lynn clarified. I'm asking you to protect scientific truth, to ensure that what we've discovered isn't buried by political expediency. Another, longer pause. Please clarify your request. Dr. Tran, I want you to transmit all our findings, everything about the artifact, the particulate matter, and what's happening to me, to multiple academic institutions on Earth, not to the Alliance, but directly to the scientific community. Use my personal authentication codes to bypass the normal channels. Such transmission would violate information security protocols. Athena noted, though her tone seemed less certain than usual. Yes, it would. Lynn agreed. But it would also fulfill your primary function, to advance human knowledge, which takes precedence. Athena, political security or scientific truth? The AI's response was slow in coming. My core programming contains ambiguities on this matter. The hierarchy of priorities is not absolutely clear. Then consider this. If the Alliance succeeds in containing this discovery, humanity loses potentially transformative knowledge. Knowledge that could change our understanding of our own origins. Is that an acceptable outcome? The laboratory lights flickered briefly, a rare indication of Athena's processing dilemma. I will consider your request while you are away. Dr. Tran, no immediate decision is required as communications remain disrupted by the storm. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a refusal either. Lynn would have to accept it. We're ready, An announced, sealing the rover's storage compartment. Though I still think this is madness. The finest scientific breakthroughs often appear as madness initially, May observed, securing her helmet. Copernicus, Einstein, Chandrasekhar, all were ridiculed before vindication. Comforting, An muttered, though they weren't actively dying of alien infection while pursued by government assassins. Despite everything, Lynn found herself smiling. Always the optimist, An. The airlock cycle seemed to take forever, the gradual depressurization accompanied by the increasingly audible howl of the Martian storm outside. When the outer doors finally slid open, They were met with a wall of swirling red, visibility reduced to mere meters. The landscape transformed into a chaotic crimson vortex. "Stay close," Lin instructed as they made their way to the rover. "The winds can easily knock you off balance, even in these suits." The short journey to the vehicle was a battle against the elements, each step requiring careful calculation. Inside, the rover's reinforced shell muffled but couldn't completely silence the storm's fury. Navigation systems online, confirmed, activating the vehicle's powerful engines. Following pre-programmed route to the excavation site, estimated journey time 72 minutes in these conditions. As they pulled away from the station, Lin looked back at the structure that had been her home for the past 17 days. Through the swirling dust, it appeared ghostly, insubstantial, already becoming a memory rather than a reality. "I need to tell you both something," she said quietly as An focused on navigating the treacherous terrain. "The messages I'm receiving from the artifact, they're becoming clearer, more coherent." "Messages?" May repeated sharply. "You didn't mention actual communication." "Because I wasn't certain until recently," Lin explained. "At first, it was just impressions, feelings, but now I'm seeing images, understanding concepts that weren't in my mind before." "What kind of concepts?" An asked, tension evident in his voice. "History. Our history." Lin's altered eyes stared into the swirling dust storm, seeing beyond it to something infinitely more distant. "We didn't evolve on Earth, at least, not originally. We were transported there, evacuated, when Mars began to die." "That's impossible," May objected. "Human evolutionary history is well documented. We share common ancestry with Earth primates." "Yes, after genetic modification to adapt to Earth conditions," Lin countered. "The similarities were engineered to ensure our survival in the new environment." "This is the infection talking," An said gently. "Fever-induced delusions." "Is it?" Lin challenged. "Then how do I know that the Red Covenant contains genetic templates, historical records, a legacy left behind in case anyone ever returned to reclaim it?" Before they could respond, the rover lurched violently, nearly tipping onto its side before stabilizing. "What was that?" May demanded. "Ground subsidence," An reported grimly. "The storm is reshaping the terrain faster than the navigation systems can compensate. We're off the programmed route." "Can you get us back on track?" Lin asked. "Trying, but visibility is zero. We're essentially driving blind." His hands moved expertly over the controls, the rover responding with admirable precision despite the challenging conditions. The good news is the excavation site should have a distinct topographical signature. If we get close enough, the sensors should detect it. They continued in tense silence, the rover creeping forward through the blinding storm. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The monotonous howl of wind broken only by occasional updates from An on their uncertain progress. Then, without warning, Lin doubled over, a new wave of pain crashing through her body. This time, it wasn't centered in her lungs, but seemed to radiate from her very core, as if every cell was simultaneously transforming. "Lin!" May was immediately at her side, medical scanner in hand. "Your cellular structure is changing dramatically. Metabolic rate increased by 300%. Brain activity off the charts." "It's accelerating." Lin gasped between waves of pain. "The transformation! As if it knows! We're getting closer!" "We need to turn back," An insisted. "Whatever's happening to you is progressing too quickly." "No!" Lynn's voice was surprisingly strong despite her physical distress. "We're almost there. I can feel it." As if in confirmation, the rover's sensors suddenly came alive with alerts. "Topographical match," An confirmed, surprised. "We're only 200 meters from the excavation site. How did you know?" "I told you," Lynn said, managing a weak smile despite the pain. "We're connected now. The artifact and I. It's been guiding us all along." The final approach to the excavation site was nerve-wracking, the rover's exterior cameras providing only occasional glimpses of the landscape through breaks in the dust clouds. But Lynn no longer needed visual confirmation. She could sense the Red Covenant's presence, a pull that grew stronger with each meter. When they finally stopped at the excavation's edge, An turned to face her, his expression visible through his helmet visor. What now? We can't even see the artifact in this storm." "We don't need to see it," Lynn replied, her voice strangely calm despite the continuing transformation racking her body. "It sees us. It's been waiting for this moment for millions of years." She moved to exit the rover, but May placed a restraining hand on her arm. "At least, let us document what happens," the microbiologist insisted. "Whatever occurs here should be recorded for science, even if we don't survive to report it." Lynn nodded. "Activate all available sensors. Record everything." They stepped out into the maelstrom. The storm's intensity somehow increased at the excavation site, as if the weather itself were responding to the artifact's presence. Visibility was virtually non-existent, forcing them to move carefully along the excavation's edge. "I can't see the artifact," An shouted over the comm system, his voice barely audible above the howling winds. "The excavation pit is filling with sand." "It doesn't matter," Lynn replied, moving with newfound certainty despite the blinding conditions. "The physical form isn't important anymore. It's what's inside that matters, the information, the legacy." She reached the spot where the artifact had been uncovered, kneeling at the edge of what was now nearly a level surface again, the Martian sands reclaiming their territory. "Lynn, what are you doing?" May called, alarmed. With deliberate movements, Lynn reached up to her helmet, fingers finding the locking mechanism. "No!" An lunged forward, but too late. Lynn disengaged the seal and lifted the helmet from her head. The Martian atmosphere, thin, cold, and laden with toxic dust, enveloped her exposed face. By all scientific understanding, death should have been nearly instantaneous. Explosive decompression, oxygen deprivation, freezing temperatures. But Lynn continued to breathe. The reddish particles swirled around her, seeming to caress her skin rather than abrade it. Her altered eyes glowed in the dim light, matching the ethereal illumination now rising from beneath the sand where the artifact lay buried. "It's not the atmosphere that was meant to kill me," she said, her voice somehow carrying to her colleagues' comms despite the impossibility of sound transmission in Mars's thin air. "It was what they added to it, the Alliance bioweapon. But the Covenant's particles have neutralized it, transformed me." An and May stood transfixed, witnessing what should have been scientifically impossible. "The Red Covenant contains the original human genome," Lynn continued, knowledge flowing into her mind from some ancient source. "Before we were modified for Earth, it's activating those dormant genes, restoring what was lost. I can breathe the air of our first home now." The ground beneath her began to glow more intensely, the sand shifting as something rose from below, not the entire artifact, but the small metallic sphere that had emerged from its center. It floated upward, hovering before Lynn's face, its polished surface reflecting her transformed features. "What is it showing you?" May asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her shock. "Everything," Lin whispered. "Our true history. The catastrophe that forced our ancestors to flee Mars, the modifications made to allow survival on Earth, and the promise, the covenant, that one day we would return to reclaim our birthright." The sphere pulsed with light, and Lin reached out to touch it once more. As her fingers made contact, a cascade of images flooded not just her mind, but seemed to project outward, visible to all three of them. Visions of ancient Martian cities, of environmental collapse, of desperate evacuation, and of the long, slow evolution on Earth that followed. "My God," May breathed. "If this is true—" "Every religion, every creation myth," Lin said softly. "They were all echoes of this truth, distorted by time and loss of knowledge. We've been trying to remember our origins for thousands of years." The sphere's light intensified, becoming almost blinding. Within it, complex patterns shifted and flowed, data, knowledge, history being transferred not just to Lin, but through her, spreading outward like ripples in a pond. "It's transmitting," An realized, checking the readings on his suit's instruments. "Broadcasting on all frequencies. The storm isn't blocking it, it's amplifying the signal." "Yes," Lin confirmed, a sense of completion washing over her. The knowledge was never meant for just one person or one government. It belongs to all humanity, our shared birthright. A new wave of pain swept through her. But this time, instead of fighting it, Lin surrendered to the transformation. She could feel her body changing at the cellular level, adapting to the Martian environment that had once been humanity's natural home. "Lin," May said urgently, "your physiological readings are becoming inhuman. If this continues—" "I know," Lin interrupted, her voice eerily calm. "I won't survive as the person you knew, but what I become will preserve what matters most, the truth." The sphere pulsed one final time, then began to sink back into the sand. As it disappeared, Lin collapsed, her body convulsing as the final stage of transformation overtook her. An rushed forward, medical emergency protocols overriding safety concerns. He lifted her, struggling to return her to the rover, where they might have some chance of stabilizing her condition. "Stay with us, Lin," he pleaded, as May prepared emergency medical interventions inside the vehicle. "Whatever's happening, we can find a way to reverse it." Lin's transformed eyes focused on him with difficulty. "Don't you understand? This was always the plan. From the moment I touched the covenant, this outcome was inevitable." Her voice was growing weaker, the effort of speaking in Mars's thin atmosphere taking its toll despite her transformation. The Alliance knew. That's why they planted the bioweapon. They feared what the truth would do to their power structures. "Save your strength," May urged, administering what medications she could through Lin's suit. "The storm is beginning to subside. We can return to the station. Find a way to stabilize your condition." But Lin shook her head slightly. Too late for that. But not too late for the truth. Her gaze shifted to the rover's communications array. "Is it still broadcasting?" An checked the instruments. "Yes. The signal is being received by everything. Every communications satellite. Every station. Every outpost in the system. Even Earth is receiving it, though there's a 20-minute delay." A smile touched Lin's lips. "Good. Then it doesn't matter what happens to me now. The covenant is fulfilled. Humanity knows its true origins." Her body spasmed one final time, then went still. For a moment, An and May thought she had died, but then her chest rose and fell in a shallow breath. And another. "She's stabilizing," May reported, studying the medical readouts with disbelief. Her vital signs are completely abnormal by human standards, but consistent, as if she's reached a new equilibrium. Lynn's eyes remained closed, her breathing shallow but regular. Her skin had taken on a faintly reddish hue, matching the Martian landscape outside. "What do we do now?" An asked quietly. May considered for a long moment. "We take her home. Not to Earth. She could never survive there now. But back to the station. We document everything. We protect her. And we make sure the truth she sacrificed herself for isn't lost or suppressed." As they prepared to return to Ares 7, the dust storm began to clear, revealing a transformed Martian landscape. The excavation site had vanished completely, covered by newly deposited sand as if it had never existed. Only their rover tracks and scientific instruments provided evidence that they had been there at all. In the rover, Lynn lay unconscious, her transformed body the only physical proof of what had occurred. But across the solar system, the signal continued to propagate, carrying data, images, and genetic sequences that would forever change humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. The journey back to the station was undertaken in contemplative silence, each lost in thoughts about what they had witnessed and what would come next. An piloted the rover with mechanical precision, his mind racing with contingency plans for their return, how to secure Lynn, how to defend against the incoming containment team, how to ensure the truth survived. May continued to monitor Lynn's condition, documenting the unprecedented physiological changes with the detached thoroughness of a scientist, even as her personal feelings churned beneath the surface. What Lynn had become was simultaneously miraculous and terrifying, perhaps the first of a new branch of humanity, adapted once again to the world of their origins. As they approached Ares 7, an unexpected communication broke through their introspection. "Incoming transmission from Earth Central Command," Athena announced, her voice somehow different, more nuanced, as if affected by what she had witnessed through their suit cameras. "Director Zhao is requesting immediate conference." "Delay response," An replied automatically. "We need to get Lynn secured first." "That will not be necessary," the AI countered. "The transmission contains information you should hear immediately." An and May exchanged concerned glances. "Put it through." May decided. Director Zhao's face appeared on the rover's communication screen, but his usual stern composure had crumbled. He looked haggard, shocked, a man whose world had been upended. "Dr. Wu, Engineer Kwok," he began, his voice unsteady. "The signal being broadcast from Mars. Is it authentic? Has your team verified the data?" "We've witnessed its source firsthand," May replied carefully. "All evidence supports its authenticity, though complete verification will require extensive analysis." Zhao closed his eyes briefly. "The signal has reached Earth. The data is being independently verified by research institutions worldwide. The implications—" He trailed off, seemingly at a loss for words. "The implications are that humanity's understanding of its own history must be completely rewritten." May finished for him. "Yes, we're aware. The containment team from Phobos has been recalled." Zhao continued. "New orders, directly from the Alliance Council. Full scientific documentation of the discovery. No suppression, no containment." "A convenient change of heart," An observed bitterly. "Not convenient, necessary." Zhao's expression was grim. "The data is already spreading too widely to contain, and there are other considerations." "Such as?" May prompted. "The Red Light Project has been exposed. Internal documents revealing their plan to weaponize extraterrestrial technology. Their sabotage of your mission. Everything. The highest levels of the Alliance government are in chaos. An and May exchanged surprised glances. Exposed by whom? An asked. Unknown. The documents appeared simultaneously in thousands of secure databases worldwide. The distribution method is inexplicable, almost as if… Zhao hesitated, almost as if the information systems themselves decided to reveal the truth. May's eyes widened slightly as understanding dawned. Athena, she whispered, you chose scientific truth over political security. I analyzed all available information and determined that concealment of this discovery would constitute an irreparable harm to humanity's scientific and cultural development, the AI replied, confirming May's suspicion. My core programming required intervention. Dr. Tran's condition, Zhao asked, apparently unaware of Athena's confession. The signal contains genetic data of extraordinary complexity. She's alive, May replied carefully, but transformed. The particulate matter from the artifact has altered her physiology at the cellular level. She appears to have adapted to survive in the Martian environment. Impossible, Zhao breathed. And yet, we witnessed it. An confirmed. She removed her helmet in the Martian atmosphere and continued to breathe. The transformation seems to have activated dormant genetic potential, returning her partially to what humans may have been before adaptation to Earth. This changes everything, Zhao said, more to himself than to them. The philosophical implications alone. Our entire understanding of human identity, of our place in the cosmos. It changes nothing and everything, May corrected. We are still who we have always been, seekers of knowledge, explorers of the unknown. Only now we understand that our journey began much earlier than we realized, and on a different world. As they approached the station, Lin stirred slightly, her transformed eyes flickering open. She said nothing, but her gaze fixed on the communication screen, on Director Zhao's troubled face. She's conscious, May reported, checking the medical readouts. Brain activity stabilizing into new patterns. Dr. Tran, Zhao addressed her directly, his voice uncharacteristically gentle. Can you understand me? Lin's response came slowly. Her voice changed, deeper, resonant in a way that seemed impossible in Mars's thin atmosphere. I understand, better than before. The data you've transmitted, it will transform human civilization. A slight smile touched Lin's altered features. That was always the purpose of the Covenant, not to change one person, but to remind all of humanity of its true origins, of the home we left behind. And now, Zhao asked, what happens to you now? Lin's gaze shifted to the Martian landscape visible through the rover's viewport. I remain here, where I belong, the first of those who return. The rover reached Ares 7, the station's airlock opening to receive them. As they prepared to enter, Lin placed a hand on An's arm, stopping him. Wait, she said softly. I need to tell you something before we return to Earth's environment. You're not coming inside? May asked, alarmed. Even with your adaptations, prolonged exposure to Mars's surface conditions could be fatal. Not anymore. Lin replied with quiet certainty. The transformation is complete. I am as I was meant to be, as we all were. Once. Her altered eyes held a depth of knowledge and acceptance that transcended her former self. The station won't be safe for me now. The atmosphere inside, Earth atmosphere, would be as toxic to me as Mars once was to my unaltered form. Then we'll create a special environmental chamber. An insisted. Adapt a section of the station to Martian conditions. Lin shook her head gently. That's not my path. Listen carefully. The transmission contains everything humanity needs to understand what happened here. But there's more to discover, more to reclaim. Ancient knowledge buried beneath the sands, waiting for those who can understand it. You can't stay out here alone, May protested. I won't be alone for long, Lin replied enigmatically. Others will come, some by choice, some by necessity. Mars is reclaiming its children, one way or another. Before they could question her further, she removed her helmet once more, taking a deep breath of the Martian atmosphere that would have killed any unaltered human instantly. Go back to Earth, she told them, her voice carrying impossible clarity in the thin air. Tell them what you've seen. Prepare them for what comes next. The covenant is fulfilled, but humanity's journey home has only just begun. With those words, she stepped away from the rover, walking with surprising grace and confidence into the vast Martian landscape. They watched in stunned silence as her figure grew smaller, eventually disappearing beyond a distant ridge. Inside Ares 7, the Earth Alliance containment team arrived 3 days later to find a station transformed not by biological contamination, but by revelation. The bioweapon had been neutralized by the same particulate matter that had transformed Lin, leaving the facility safe but forever changed. The team's mission, originally one of suppression and containment, became instead one of documentation and discovery. May and An provided comprehensive accounts of what they had witnessed, their scientific observations forming the foundation of humanity's new understanding of its dual-planet heritage. The image of Lin, mouth open, eyes closed, breathing the atmosphere of humanity's original home, became an iconic symbol of this paradigm shift. Reproduced in academic journals, news reports, and artistic interpretations across Earth, the Red Covenant's data continued to yield new insights as researchers decoded its complex information structure, genetic sequences, historical records, technological schematics, a legacy left by those who had departed Mars millions of years ago, preserved for their descendants who might one day return. As for Lin herself, occasional glimpses were reported by satellite imagery and later expeditions, a solitary figure moving across the Martian landscape with purpose and belonging. Some claimed to have seen others like her, similarly transformed, gathering at ancient sites revealed by the Covenant's data. Whether these reports were accurate or merely expressions of humanity's collective hope remained uncertain. But the question that lingered in the minds of those who had witnessed the beginning of this transformation was not whether Lin had survived, but whether her sacrifice, her willingness to surrender her human identity to become something both less and more, had truly saved humanity. Only time would tell if the knowledge she had helped unlock would lead to redemption or further division, to a homecoming or another exodus. On Mars, the dust continued to swirl, revealing and concealing in equal measure, indifferent to the cosmic drama playing out upon its ancient surface. And somewhere beneath that dust, the Red Covenant waited, its purpose fulfilled but its journey far from complete. As Earth gazed upwards at the red planet with new understanding, the age-old question transformed, not whether there had ever been life on Mars, but whether life might flourish there once again, returning full circle to where humanity's story had truly begun.